What's going on, guys? Waco from Revolution here with Armand from Sartory Billard. How are you, buddy?
Very fine. Thank you very much for being here.
So, if you've been following our videos, you pretty much know this guy's story, but for the sake of those who don't, every superhero has a mythology. Tell us your origin story, Armand.
So, I started like 8 years ago making watches after I sold my design agency. I have no formal education in watchmaking, so all I was good to do is make piece, destroy piece, and make again, and let's destroy them, and finally make watches. But I fell in love with one thing, is titanium, and I fell in love with polishing titanium. So this is everything started from there. People get to know Sartory Billard in 2017 and 18 when I made all the bunches of blue dial polished titanium. I just like destroyed my fingers on the grinder and the polishing cloth and everything to make these wonderful dies. And back in 19 or 20, I made a Ghost limited edition of the SB04.
Right.
And it happens that we have one here.
We have, this is actually Marco's watch from Swiss Watch Gang. So thank you for lending us your watch. And that's that beauty right here. So talk to us about you, because you mentioned you destroyed your hands.
Yeah,
right?
I really destroyed my finger.
It's funny because the only two guys I know who can really mirror polish grade 5 titanium are you and Denis Flageolet from Debethune.
Yes.
And every time someone tries to ask him about it, he just laughs because he's like, it's just pain.
It's madness. It's madness. Like polishing a case is quite easy because you have a big chunk of metal and you can use all the tools and the machinery that you have. Polishing dial is like getting to work on a piece that must stay as flat as possible and is only 0.5 millimeter thick. And the fact is with titanium, if it overheats, and it doesn't mean like 200 degrees, like it's around the 60, 70 degrees Celsius, like it's overheating for the titanium and basically you screw up your polishing.
Wow.
So it means that you need at the same time to apply pressure, but not too much. And it's a tremendous amount of time. We're talking about like half a day sometimes to make a dial at the beginning when you need to learn the process.
That's crazy.
I committed this with Marco Concina some years ago. Full polished titanium case. This is the only Sartory Billard watch that has a closed case back at the time, and full polished titanium dial. And I think we committed a new version of the Ghost with the SB07.
Okay, so the SB07 is your integrated bracelet sports watch.
Yes.
And since I saw it, I loved it. And we have been discussing for a while, what can we do together as a collaboration? And I was like, bro, actually my favorite watch that you've ever done is the SB04 Ghost. Could we do a Ghost version of the SB07? And you said yes, and then that's apparently how I feel my phone.
Yeah, I regret it. I absolutely fucking regret it every day of my life.
I'm so sorry.
No, that was a very, very difficult watch to make. So the SB07 is the sports model. It's obviously in steel. This is the first series, so all is in steel. So I put this time my dedication to polish steel. But believe me, it doesn't mean that it's easier than titanium. But when it comes to dial, I thought very, stupidly, that polishing a steel dial would be easier than titanium, and Lord, I was wrong. Because what's something that I didn't expected, but you learn, like every time you do something you fail, learn a little bit. Like in this SB07, there is like a logo hole in the middle and logo plate, and it changes absolutely everything because it means that all the polishing system and all the process was completely different from the previous one. And even if the steel seems to be a little bit more easier to polish, at the end this is a very, very complex process. So I was just saying off camera, but I can repeat it now, like to achieve like 15 dies, because it's a very limited edition to 15 pieces, I started with 200 dies.
Wow.
So you can imagine the rate of failure. Honestly, at this day, I'm not sure I will ever do another like full polished like dial and everything like this. It's super.
You had an 82% rejection rate on the dials. I think that if we were our own financial controllers, we would have to fire ourselves.
Yes, they will shoot us up. No, it's honestly, I had the pleasure to talk with the guys at the Debethune like a couple of times, and this is why they and I are doing this, is because it's really outside any reasonable measure of productivity and business. You need to dedicate something, dedicate yourself to do something that is not logical, and you have to make it whatever the difficulties are on the path. And it's like the rejection rate is so high, but this is the beauty of the thing. So at the end of the day, like only 2 brands probably are, or maybe like 2 or 5 or whatever, a very small amount of brands will do this kind of stuff because it's super difficult and out of any logic.
You know, Armand, I know when we had initially had this conversation, we were thinking of even maybe a slightly larger series, and then halfway through this ordeal of polishing dials, you called me up and like, listen, Wei, we have to make it smaller.
Yes.
So we're only going to make 15 of these watches. What I think is remarkable about it is that you decided to push through and get them done. It was actually, I don't want to say funny, but I remember saying, do you think we really need to have the logo on the dial? And you're like, dude, that's like the identity of the brand. And that was what screwed up everything, because the holes for the pins for the logo were where you had a lot of issues in terms of polishing perfectly.
The goal is to have like a die that is as flat as possible. So it means that when you will look in your face, like it will be pretty much like a bathroom mirror, like sort of. If you have holes and elements within a die, like all the polishing paste and everything will go inside and create this wobbling effect. And this is what we don't want. So this is why we have a super high rejection rate.
So we talked about the dials, and what's really cool about this is on top of that you have luminous hour indicators and luminous hands as well. So there's actually, even though the entire watch is super polished, it's super legible as well. And then let's look into the case as well, because we mirror polished every single dimension of this watch.
Yep.
We mirror polished the bezel. We mirror polished every single link in the bracelet. We mirror polished like just the bevels on the side of the case, so you have a sculptural effect to it. But when you put it on your wrist, it's insane, because it almost feels like you're wearing like a Anish Kapoor, like a modern art sculpture that happens to tell time, right?
You remember for the 04, Marco Concina went outside during the winter season and he filmed the watch within this house that was made of mirror by an artist. I can't remember the name, sorry.
Right.
But like it's when you're wearing this watch, it's blending into the environment. So when I made the Ghost, I remember taking the picture of the Ghost in the grass of my garden, and people wouldn't find the watch. That watch was like, it just blends in.
That's nuts. It's crazy, because I'm looking at the bezel, and it's mirror polished on both sides, right? Then I'm looking at the bracelet, and actually it's mirror polished. But then inside of each link also, it's also mirror polished as well. It's absolutely nuts.
So the only parts that are not mirror polished is that inside the bracelet, because obviously it's in the contact of your skin, so it has to be brushed. It's there. And for the design consistency with the other watches of the brand, is like the little recess on the side of the watch.
Right, which gives it an even more sculptural effect.
Yeah, all the watches from Sartory Billard have like sides or pockets on the side that are like very finely sandblasted. So it makes the link with the brand.
I really applaud your courage, your persistence, your resilience for creating these 15 pieces for us. Thank you so much for this amazing collaboration, and I hope the 15 guys that get this watch feel happy, because he's never going to do it again.
Probably not. That's for sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Sartory Billard SB07 times Grail Watch Ghost.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you, brother.
Cheers.